Hello, welcome back to the L1 show. I'm Krista. They're not going to say their names.
I just some random.
We have to hide ourselves from the AI.
It's too late. They already know us. Actually, they didn't know you, I think, but June 21st is the date.
People give us money on Patreon and Floatplane to do this. I don't know.
Well, we're just here because they gave us money. Also because, you have to have somewhere to look at the darkness together.
To share.
We're in the darkness together.
You're going to share the darkness with your friends.
We're all suffering.
It's the whole concept.
Oh, we have a story about that. The collective depression in the nonsense section this week. That's going to be fun.
But let's talk about a little bit of collapse. Just a sampling this week.
For business.
Seems like things are improving. We didn't hike rates.
Yeah, we didn't hike rates, but they made a lot of noise that the rates have to go even higher.
Which is weird. As they said that, they didn't do anything about it. But what they have been doing, and when I say they, I mean the American government, is to go to war with crypto. The SEC is not a fan of them, and it seems to be working.
Robinhood's May crypto trading volume falls 68% to 2.1 billion. This is a lot of information from CoinDesk, and the one important detail they leave out is that a lot of larger banking institutions have been sending emails and messages to their customers saying, we're going to pause withdrawals and trades with cryptocurrency places. And it's like, that's interesting. Can I opt out of that? And the answer is no.
And Binance US turned off their US dollar withdrawals.
Sure does seem like a coordinated effort, doesn't it?
And the biggest thing that probably set this off was that Gensler at the SEC told that Coinbase that they were illegally trading some tokens, and they immediately stopped.
Tokens delisted, exchange closed following SEC crypto lawsuits.
Oh, I'm sorry. This wasn't Coinbase. This was crypto.com.
Yep. The Matt Damon thing.
Was that his? Was Crypto.com his? I thought it was something else.
Maybe it was.
No, he was FTX.
Oh, he was?
Was he?
I don't know.
I remember the ad, like the look of the ad, but I don't remember what it was.
Oh, you're talking about the Super Bowl ad.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was definitely one of the crypto companies. It wasn't FTX, I don't think. Whoever it was bad. It should not have done that.
Larry David was right.
And this is only tangentially connected to tech, but San Francisco tech hub.
I was just there.
And it seems to be suffering from that relationship now that we've done it for a couple of years.
House of Cards is waiting to collapse. This major hotel company just wrote off San Francisco, stops payments on 4-star properties due to major challenges, quote unquote. Will others follow suit?
Can you just stop payments on stuff that you're still paying for?
I mean, they just
That's
left.
news to me.
Well, I guess it'll go back to somebody else, but the interest rates are so high and these investments were so bad and the buildings are empty. So they're like, yeah, we'd rather just you take it back.
That also happened with one of the big malls in San Francisco near Moscone, I think, that they're just like, we're out. Just see ya.
You ever watch, I can't remember the name of the guy. Someone will tell us in the comments, but there's a guy who just tours dead malls and like makes videos of it on YouTube. It's very interesting.
I've seen videos like that.
Yeah.
I walked to one of Raja Koduri's favorite vegan Indian places while I was in San Francisco. And, one route was fine, but then I took a slightly different route on the way back and it was like, I'm in danger.
You should check out the China Ghost City Explorers, because then you got a whole city that's just empty.
Oh, is that like there's the one city where it's like super packed in, but it's full of people.
No, they built giant cities and no one ever moved in. So
yeah, because they're too expensive.
they're just falling. Well, there's nothing nearby.
Or they're made out of cardboard.
Yeah.
But San Francisco does have a bit of a problem like you're talking about. And it's not a comfortable thing to talk about, but it is a problem because they have a lot of homeless people. And that creates a lot of unsafe situations. And how do you discourage those people from coming to where you are?
A San Francisco library is turning off Wi-Fi at night to keep people without housing from using it. I don't think the people without housing using it is the problem. I think the people that are just unhinged on drugs and also without housing is the problem.
Do you know what that Venn diagram looks like?
It's not just one circle.
It's pretty close.
Which is what matters.
And Chicago, also a big city and not immune to these types of situations. And as
this is the one I was telling you about.
It's pharmacies, for whatever reason, are a big target for these kinds of people. And Chicago is giving up.
Walgreens unveils Chicago store with only 2 aisles and most products kept out of sight. So one of the buildings that I passed in San Francisco walking was like Dave's Pharmacy, and it was just boarded up. There was just nothing. It was like something bad happened here, and Dave was just like, "I'm out. Been running the neighborhood pharmacy for 20 years, and I'm out."
They didn't have pictures here, which I was disappointed in. They do have a tweet that I guess is a video that you could watch, but you need pictures. Come on. Also, the stock market's in extreme greed today.
What does that mean?
It means they didn't raise rates. AMD is moving on to hardware. AMD has really been, like just taken out of NVIDIA's lunchbox for years now, and they don't like it. But NVIDIA now has a new lunchbox called AI. And can AMD get something out of that?
The Reuters headline was, with no big customers named, AMD's AI chip challenge to NVIDIA remains an uphill fight. This article is terrible. I was literally there. They're basically saying because AMD didn't name any customers for their new AI chips, they don't have any customers. But Meta and Microsoft were literally there saying, look at all this really cool stuff we're doing.
Well, Microsoft's already partnered with NVIDIA, but there is one, perhaps. Oh,
I got a video coming out on that. It's like going to be more about the event. So look for the other video about AMD's data center event, because
Will that
it's
be
really
out by
good.
the time this comes out?
It'll be probably around the same
close,
time.
Yeah.
well, there's one hope, one white knight that might ride in and give AMD their first big customer.
Amazon's cloud unit is considering AMD's new AI chips. They're talking about the MI300A and the MI300X. 300A is an APU. It's got processing built in as well as GPU, and it's pretty good at inferencing from the benchmarks they showed. And the MI300X, which is standard, standalone open compute platform kind of a thing. So it's really interesting stuff.
They haven't actually made any commitments, but they are, I guess we could say they're sniffing around at this point.
Enough to have their logo put on the event. Yeah.
For the press to write a story about it. And Intel is still working to reimagine all their branding and confuse everybody and maybe not remind us about what came in the past.
Intel to launch new Core processor branding for Meteor Lake. Drop the I and add an Ultra tier. So Core Ultra 9. Ah, okay.
So edgy.
There's not going to be a Core Ultra 3. That's weird. I'm surprised there's a Core Ultra 5, if I'm being honest.
3 is not edgy enough and powerful enough to be ultra.
That's why Valve never does a third game, right?
I mean, when are we going to have... I'm just remembering the Celeron 300A. When are we going to get another legendary processor like that?
Now that the trend is to always just start renaming the game as the original title eventually, are we ever going to get up to 3 again?
Never.
Like we'll do a sequel and then we'll just start over it again. Intel is also going to redesign their chips in a big way, and they claim that this is going to have not huge impacts, but enough to go for it.
Intel is all in on backside power delivery. The company's power via interconnect tech demonstrated at a 6% performance gain. So basically, you put the power layers on the back of the chip, and whatever needs power can reach through the logic layers and just grab whatever power it needs, so that you don't have to run power on the logic layers, which is actually way more efficient, and it leaves a lot more room for logic, so you can cram everything in tighter.
And apparently easier too, because you just turn it over and sand it down to get down to those power rods, and you don't have to work around them. Interesting stuff. You think King Charles would understand that?
Absolutely. He knows all.
I think he'll be asking Apple why he can't get his Gmail.
Well, Apple is...
He'll ask his staff that.
This week might have started with cake in the Apple conference room, but I think at some point it was removed because someone did not do their due diligence at Apple.
Apple faces trademark battle to use Vision Pro name in China, which actually turns out to be Huawei's thing.
Ooh.
In fact, they have a whole line of Vision Pro products. How did you not know that?
Yeah, when you Googled it, and you had to look it up. Like, you didn't see that come up immediately and be like, maybe they thought they could take them. They're like, nah.
I'm going to use Meta as a reference here. Remember when Meta launched their name, there was already a company named Meta, and then
They just browbeat that guy.
it never mattered.
Yeah.
Or Nissan.
But
did not own Nissan.com.
In this case, though, Huawei is a pretty big company. I mean, maybe not at the level of Apple, but like they could probably fight it.
Well, not only that, but in China,
Yeah.
they carry a lot more weight than Apple does.
Yeah.
Because China's used to just pushing Apple around. Interesting. Here's a product that is, I feel like this is like one of those, this is like a waffle maker, right? Like it only has one use and you don't use it often enough to merit having this in your catalog.
Saul Reader is a VR headset exclusively for reading books.
I guess if you like to read, like laying down in bed and your arms get tired, this would be nice. But
I don't know why, but I feel compelled to make an infomercial with this where somebody's wearing like the Apple Glass headset. So you're tired of steel and glass weighing your neck down? You need to wear the Saul Reader. And it's just like somebody tripping over stuff and falling and like a bad infomercial.
Couldn't you just get one of those face shields and duct tape a Kindle to it?
Yeah. Or have you seen, I've loved these. I haven't gotten one, but it's like a mirror you can put over yourself while you're laying in bed. So you can just have your book like down in your lap, but then like you have the glasses in the mirror and then you can see down at your book.
My cats would definitely lay down in front of the mirror.
Yeah, they would.
We really need to turn this into a skit or something. So it's like, get out the duct tape and duct taping it.
One thing it does have that is for lying on your back and reading an electronic device. I have actually wished for this before and thought about plugging a mouse into my Surface for this purpose. They have a remote control.
Oh, that's nice.
That would be nice. How much is it? Did they say in the
$350?
It's a lot of money.
I used to have the Ring mouse like a million years ago when I was in college, and for that kind of navigation, it was awesome. You could just
for page flip, yeah,
like it's just a basic joystick control. I've often thought that when I was in, it's like this would be really handy if I had that again, but I haven't seen it in years. I don't know where it's at.
I also want that for listening to music because when the Surface goes to sleep and it's dark, then I have to wake it up and assault my eyes with if I want to change the song. But they should let me use the volume buttons in some context to change the song.
Yeah, if you had the Ring thing, you could hit a button and it would wake up the device, and then it would just keep going.
But I just want to switch tracks. Just give me a button to a forward and next. But my Surface is getting old. I've been thinking about replacing it, but like the inflationary and the fall.
Do I need this right now? That's the question I ask.
Money's a little tight, so maybe not do that. Maybe I can repair it. Unfortunately, the fine print here is that the 7 model not supported.
Microsoft now sells Surface replacement parts, including displays, batteries, and SSDs, unless it's old.
Only the 9. The 9 and later you can get. For the 7, you can only get the hinge. It's the only part they'll sell you. This is through iFixit.
Do you think that'll be their strategy? Is like they'll just sell replacement parts for the latest model?
I think the problem here is not that they don't want to sell you replacement parts. I think it's that they admit that 90% of the people who try to take that apart are going to destroy it because it was like that iPad style construction.
Everything's glued together.
Yeah. My own personal successful rate for getting a Surface screen off without cracking it is only like 8 out of 10.
Well, maybe 8 out of 10 is better than Western Digital NAS drives because there's a warning. But here's the weird thing. The warning doesn't come from the industry. It's coming from inside the drive.
Ars Technica, quote unquote, clearly predatory. Western Digital sparks panic and anger for age-shaming hard drives. Basically, for certain NAS hard drives, it says, oh, it's over 3 years old. You're on borrowed time. But that's been kind of the conventional wisdom. I mean, when we've done these kind of things, it's like these drives, when they're 3 to 5 years old, you're starting to see a much higher failure rate. And a lot of the time with these helium-filled drives, the helium will leak out slowly over time because helium is an incredibly tiny molecule.
Unfortunate. I think my current Magic hard drive might be one of those.
The helium ones?
I don't know if it's one of the helium.
We have a lot of those in the data center, and when they're pushing, the failure rate doesn't really increase at 3 years, but like year 4 and 5, the failure rate does sort of go up. Backblaze has got the best stats on that.
Mine is in power save a lot of the time, but it does have a really annoying wake up time. Windows is all like just and then you gotta wait for the click. Well, when was the Tesla Cybertruck announced? Was that like 2017?
like
Years ago.
Yeah,
That is a
long
different
time.
world.
That's taken a while, but maybe we're at the finish line.
Electrek's headline is Tesla plans for 375,000 Cybertrucks per year and will have a release candidate by late August. Rumor has it that the initial Highway Traffic Safety Association test of the first one did not go well.
I don't think the design has aged well either. It feels kind of low poly at this point.
Yeah.
And plus, we've got a lot of other electric trucks on the market to compete with.
The Rivian, actually, for people that I know that have bought the Rivian or taken delivery on the Rivian, they have been insanely over the moon tickled with them.
Insanely over the moon tickled.
I have to make an insert here.
Oh, right. We talked about it right before we started and then forgot to put the story in. Oops.
So, yeah. GTA did, here's a headline. GTA wants more and more money. They're not satisfied with all the money they've already made.
GTA Online Update removes more than 180 cars and bikes and puts some behind a paywall. Fans are not happy. Yep.
I had some friends complaining about this week.
And that's not a one-time cost either. That's a recurring subscription of $6. GTA Plus, of course.
For a game that came out how many years ago now?
Oh, it's still making an insane amount of money even before this.
But a lot of, like the people that are still playing are the people that compulsively collect everything.
Yeah.
And have like all the end game stuff. You're literally taking stuff just out of their pockets.
Speaking of,
if you already own those, I couldn't understand that if I already own them, do they take them away from me? Or do I get to keep them? I think they were taking them out of the stores.
Yeah, I think you still get to keep it, but like if you don't already have it, like you don't have a chance to get it again.
Is that going to create like a used car market like the last few years I
probably, yeah.
Can you trade those after the fact?
I'm not sure. I know, like I said, I've mentioned a friend who was like upset about that change, and he was like, there was one particular car he'd always wanted to get, and now he wouldn't be able to get it. I don't know what it was though.
I hope this is about what we think it's about.
I'm not sure if it is, but
Overwatch 2 players demand old feature returns after controversial Season 5 changes.
This might not be it.
I don't think it is, but there's a story about Overwatch 2. So they, for the recap, they said, hey, you know how we started Overwatch 2 so we could do PvE? We're actually not going to do PvE with like all the new stuff we said we were going to, like skill trees and this, that, and the other. We're actually just going to do archives missions, and they're going to be paywalled.
$15.
$15 for 3 missions.
They just announced that they were removing that.
Yeah. So I assume what these missions are going to be like are very similar to the old archives missions where it was like the Halloween event where you just fought waves of enemies and it was kind of like just a dumbed down AI. But now you get to pay $15 for that when you used to get it for free.
You gonna buy it?
I'm not playing Overwatch 2, so no.
I don't like those. I remember playing those. They weren't that amazing.
No, I don't. Maybe they'll do something different that'll make this better, but I suspect it's probably just the same sort of thing that they used to do, which is just those AI waves.
How many copies do you think they'll sell?
It's hard to. Some people still defend Blizzard, which is incredible. I don't know. Maybe they're living off the whales at this point.
Well, remember when they put advertisements at the gas pump and everybody hated it? Remember when they put advertisements in the grocery aisle and everybody hated it? Remember when they put advertisements in X and everybody hated it? Well, it's never going to stop.
Video ads are coming to Uber. We know where you are and where you're going and what you've eaten.
Not only are they going to be in the app while you wait to be picked up, so you're sitting there, you're looking at the map, you're waiting, you're going to be watching an ad. But then certain Uber cars, and I don't know how they decide this, probably eventually it'll be all of them, are going to have tablets hanging off the back of the seat.
God, there's just the aggressive ads everywhere. Like you can't just exist in public without being advertised to.
I would recommend everybody take some sort of like sweet snack, maybe something coated with honey. So while you're enjoying that in the back, you can just wipe your fingers on that.
Or just scream the entire time the ad is going. On gas pumps, in case you don't know, hot tip, if you randomly press the buttons along the screen at a gas pump, it will mute.
It's usually one down on the right side.
Usually, yeah. Sometimes they're different, but usually that's the one, and it'll mute it so you don't have to listen to it.
Well, Microsoft Teams is in the crosshairs because of the whole antitrust situation, and they are finally going to reconcile the many versions.
Microsoft Teams integration is being removed from Windows 11. It used to be called chat. There was a chat icon, and it would turn into Teams if you accidentally clicked on it. And then no one wanted it, so they're getting rid of it. So they can put something else worse.
But that was normie chat, which didn't connect to professional Teams.
Still doesn't.
And still won't. But now if you install Teams, you'll get the version that maybe can connect to professional Teams.
I think they're still separate apps. You have two different teams.
How intuitive.
Yeah. I don't think anybody actually uses the computer the way that they intend for other people to use it, because it's just awful. Like SharePoint. I don't think anybody actually uses SharePoint that works on SharePoint. Otherwise, SharePoint would be less awful.
I use SharePoint, and I always hate it.
Yeah, it is annoying.
Like, it's just slow. Like,
It's slow and the search is not that good.
How is Discord so fast and it's based on the same sort of web technology, and SharePoint is so garbage?
Well, I would say that Discord isn't listening to as much telemetry, but it probably is.
Yeah.
Maybe they compress. And we've talked a lot about, of course, AI is changing the world of search, especially web search. And while everybody else seems to be launching forward with all of this, Google's still not getting it right. And more Google search is just something to laugh at.
Google spits out results for Book of Genesis and the band Genesis when searching for Sega's Mega Drive because it's trying to be clever.
So if you search for the Book of Mega Drive, that sounds like a Transformers thing. It will get you the Book of Genesis from the Bible, because someone at Google has taught it that Mega Drive and Genesis are the same thing. Which, if you don't know, the Mega Drive was the Japanese version of the Sega Genesis.
I feel like that would be self-explanatory, but maybe not.
Well, I mean, young kids don't even. Maybe they're emulating, and they're like, "What is this Mega Drive?
What's this? I don't understand this."
Because all they know is PS5, and PS5 is getting a hot new feature.
Sony starts testing cloud streaming PS5 games.
No. Okay.
Everybody else is kind of already doing that, aren't they?
Yeah. Okay, good for you.
This is interesting because this is one of the big things that all the regulators are using to deny Activision and Microsoft. So now if Sony gets started on it, can we make that argument still? Game Boy Color. I had one. Had a programmable cartridge for ROMs. Oh my God. What a value. And apparently some people still have working models.
For reasons no one can fathom, McDonald's has released a new Game Boy Color game, which is not in any kind of official Nintendo Game Boy, but one of the projects that is probably now on Nintendo's radar. And they'll probably try to shut them down. The Analog Pocket.
Cruel Toys with a K. Apparently they do not expect to sell many of these. And in fact, it is a web game pretty much, or mobile game. But if you want to, you can get this ROM and run it on your own Game Boy Color.
I didn't have a Game Boy Color. I just had a Game Boy. And if it was like even a little bit dark, you couldn't see the screen.
Also, oh yeah, there's no backlight.
Yeah,
yeah. Grimace is back. He was apparently not used in McDonald's marketing for some time. Do you know what Grimace is?
Isn't he a taste bud?
There's different stories. He's been a taste bud, I think an alien who steals milkshakes, and then the personification of a milkshake itself. Which is weird because I don't think they sell one that color.
No. Well, and it's also weird that they had two thieving characters, because the Hamburglar, I thought that was kind of his.
He also used
niche.
to have 4 arms, which I don't know why being a milkshake would give you 4 arms.
I wonder if they retired Grimace for a while because of that meme where it was like, "What's wrong, Ronald Coon?" And it's like the messed up drawing of Grimace. Maybe they retired him.
Oh, the evil Grimace, they reference that.
Yeah.
They had to let that cool down.
Yeah, they're like, "Oh, we don't want that controversy."
Let's bring that back. And another thing that we might bring back now, finding a working Game Boy Color is probably going to be a lot easier than finding one of these.
A company called Atari is releasing a brand new 2600 cartridge this year. Okay.
This is not just a ROM. This is you can buy it. It comes with a box and an instruction manual.
Just silence as we all stare at the image. I was like, okay.
I don't know.
I guess if you're excited for that.
They're trying to do something with that license. They don't know what to do with it, but they're trying to do something.
Maybe they're just trying to do something so that they can keep it. Like, oh, we're protecting our copyright.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the Sony Spider-Man thing.
Yeah.
We got to keep making these or they'll take it away from us. I don't know if it works like that. And well, last week or the week before, we learned that RAR-BG is gone. We've lost them. And now, 2 more brave souls.
TV show release group Cakes quits the scene and shuts down.
And GLHF as well.
Oh.
The copyright fist is just bludgeoning them all.
What these groups need to do is release tools that let you scrape your own thing. So it's like, oh, I'm watching this on Hulu. I would like to format shift this for later consumption, which should be okay. And they should be able to do that.
They're going to force me to read a lot more books.
Yeah. Until those are all, locked down and
or until the format itself shifts to something that I'm not willing to consume.
Apple TV Plus's Monsterverse show filming in 3D Vision Pro viewing. So Apple's going to make content for their VR headset.
For the 6 people that can afford it.
Yeah.
You think Tim Cook's a big fan of Godzilla?
Do you think he watches does he enjoy any kind of media, you think?
No.
He has like slaves who play out his dramas, real life before him. This is a great way, in my opinion, though, to use this kind of technology because of all the types of movies that you could immersively look around in. Monster movies are great, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh no, there's a monster over there on the horizon. What's going to happen? And you're looking around.
Or you can do some cool stuff with sound, where you hear rustling in the bushes.
Well, I mean, it's kind of hard for them to hide in the bushes, being the size of skyscrapers. And this was not as exciting as I thought it would be when I added it. But you know what? We need this, and we need what would be more beautiful if the entire wireless situation was open sourced and we could all use it to our own advantages without buying into these horrible corporations.
Build our own mesh network. The Linux Foundation and National Spectrum Consortium to collaborate on OpenRAN architecture and testing to accelerate U.S. innovation. So the promise makes it sound like this will be an open wireless mesh network, but that's not really what it is.
Really, they're just... So it turns out that... what was AT&T's 5G nonsense? It was like 5G plus or 4.5.
4G LTE was going to be 5G, and 5G was now 5G plus.
So it turns out there's a bunch of proprietary stuff all up in our mobile networks. And this aims to consolidate everything down to an open standard. They would have to agree to that.
Yeah.
I don't know that they will.
There's also a component of this that has to do with spread spectrum and frequency hopping, which dramatically increases the amount of bandwidth that's really available in a unit of spectrum. And standardizing on that means that we've got the possibility of radios from a whole bunch of different vendors that can communicate with one another, which could actually be good for a next-gen mobile network. But part of the reason we don't have that now is because these companies literally cannot agree on this technology because it's so beneficial, they would be ceding control they already have. And so it's just sort of stalled out.
God, if we could just host our own mobile locally, that would be so beautiful.
Yeah.
That would get shut down so fast.
There was originally a Wi-Fi standard that was supposed to be like a 1 to 2 mile range, where so like a town could have a Wi-Fi network. You could hop on the town and get announcements and crap like that. And then just everybody, mobile providers and ISPs were both like, no, we must not do that.
Every Comcast truck would have a jammer for that frequency.
Yeah.
And moving on to social media, and there was only one story in social media this week, and it was hot. We have so many. I tried to.
It was updating today. Like there's still stuff going on.
I tried to put these in the order in which they happened.
Reddit crashed because of the growing subreddit blackout. Apparently, nobody ever thought that making all these subreddits private would be a problem, but it was crashing the Reddit front page as it struggled and tried to pick things that were popular, but couldn't because they were all behind communities that had been closed.
And it was a lot of communities. There were several times I clicked this week and I was like, oh, I forgot.
Yeah. Especially if you're like looking for like arcane knowledge about something and it's like, oh, I'll just go and I'll look for a Reddit thread about it. And then it's like, oh, it's gone.
I encountered a new location. They added new stuff in Cataclysm Dark Days Ahead. And I was like, oh, I want to go and learn about this. Nope.
Yeah.
What were you saying?
Oh, no, just...
Oh, you're right, headline.
Yeah. And so the obvious you know, people were like, oh God, is this the end of Reddit? And we tried to put out the fire.
Reddit CEO tells employees that this subreddit blackout will pass. Because if you work at Reddit, you're looking around at what's happening and you look at what your CEO is doing. It's like, this doesn't seem good for the future of my job.
This guy's an ass. But I mean, to be fair, he's not wrong, because from the start they were like, oh, it's only going to be 48 hours, which it's like, well, of course they're just going to say they're going to weather it then. Like, you have to be willing to go further.
And in fact, many of the subreddits were willing.
Reddit communities with millions of followers plan to extend the blackout indefinitely. More is needed for Reddit to act. What is Reddit doing wrong? They're charging API access because they want to eliminate third-party apps, which initially they weren't saying that was the case, but as of about an hour ago, the Reddit CEO said, yeah, we want to eliminate third-party apps because they don't add any value to our platform.
And by don't add value, he means we don't make any money from them, which is the only value they care about.
And in fact, he says that they really never intended for third-party apps, which is weird because they did offer the API for years and years.
Reddit CEO Steve Huffman says that we were never designed to support third-party apps. So we definitely weren't trying to negotiate with them and charge them way too much money.
And none of that helped. So we are still in a situation where most of Reddit is blacked out. What can they do?
Microsoft Start has the very incorrect headline, which says Reddit says it won't force subreddits back open, and then in parentheses, but will it? I think they added the parentheses, or maybe this is a paywall alternative. This is a kind of dishonesty that we face when we do this. Reddit is absolutely forcing the subreddits back open because they are replacing moderators who won't moderate or who have closed the communities with other moderators that will, which in effect will reopen the subreddits. So yeah, that's wrong.
It's already happened with I think it was like our Tumblr and a couple others.
Now they have terms of conduct for moderators, and they are referencing rule number 4 as the reason that you might be removed.
Rule number 4 would be active and engaged. I would think that staging this blackout is a form of engagement.
And most of them put a thing, like a notice that was like, hey, we voted on this, like the community voted on it and we're participating in it. So it's very clearly like a community action.
But it looks like they're just going to flush everybody out and start over. Bring in the scabs.
Have you guys all heard of Lemmy? We should just be hosting everything on Lemmy at this point.
Is Dig still a thing?
Bring them back.
It's funny because Reddit came out of the ashes of Dig after Dig did almost this exact same thing.
And after Reddit did this and the firestorm resulted, and we have, like, the big thing was the Apollo app. And, you know, that showcased how people don't like your website, but they like the content on it. They like this other thing that somebody else made. Why don't you be more like that? And YouTube saw that and they were like, how can we shoot ourselves in the foot in the exact same way?
YouTube tells open source privacy software Nvidia to shut down. This was an alternative front end to YouTube that would neuter Google's analytics mainly, but it was just really an alternative front end to YouTube.
It also removed ads, which is probably what YouTube's salty about.
It didn't even remove all the ads. It gave you the option. And yeah, now it's gone.
Well, it's not gone yet because Nvidia, in fact, does not use an API. I guess they just scrape directly. They have some interesting way of doing it. And they're like, well, hey, bro, that's a cool little legal letter you sent us here, but we don't use your API. We've never agreed to your terms of service, and we don't have an account. So what are you going to do about it? We're going to keep going.
Has there been any case law or precedent on allowing people to run something on their computer to experience a website in a way that was different than the website publisher intended?
We have the LinkedIn case.
Yeah, that was okay.
Seems like this would apply, right?
Yeah.
It's publicly viewable.
Although if it goes to this current Supreme Court, they're going to find a way to grind it into paste.
Oh my God, Google is going to destroy these people.
Yeah.
There is no chance.
I mean, it should be okay. Like if it went to a jury trial and the jury actually understood what was at stake here, there's no way that they would fine for Google.
They're going to fine for Google. And Meta has, they've decided to get into AI in the most bizarre.
There's no examples in this article either.
And boring way possible. I don't understand what these even are. Have you
I can't find a picture of what they're describing.
Meta's first generative AI feature will be AI stickers in Messenger.
So
okay.
The way I understand it is, instead of like an emoji in Messenger, you can give it text to describe what you want it to do, and then
Yeah.
AI will generate that, and then you can use that in chat. Right?
Yeah, the example they give in the article is like, oh, you could say like, I want a corgi in a party hat, and it would make some sort
And
of
yet,
image like that.
The Verge gives us
Nothing.
no corgis in party hats.
Yeah.
I guess this was such a non-story.
Yeah, there's no, I can't find an example of it because I was like, what does that even mean? Who wants that? But they just want something AI so they can keep up with all the other tech companies. We'll just make an AI headline. But AI is the next section. Not today.
And the longest.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have to rebalance our stories because Fridays are, we're
We're getting long on
we're
Friday.
loading up on Fridays because AI and nonsense.
We all carb out on Fridays. It's fine.
We'll see you then. Bye.